Well, last week, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission issued a one-week moratorium to businesses involved in price fixing and gouging. The Commission is working to end the country's exploitative pricing of consumer goods and services. All right, let's have a discussion with Arise News analyst and Associate Professor of Law, Sam Amadi. Amadi is also the director of Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Very warm welcome to Newsnight. I mean, this is really heartbreaking. The same NNPCL that just less than a fortnight ago declared 3.3 trillion naira as profit is now saying it is bankrupt and owing debt, to a tune of over $6 billion for auto petrol suppliers. What is going on with NNPC? How do you reconcile this?
I mean, this is a historic legacy crisis, NNPC. Let's not forget, in 2015, part of what Salisu Lamido and him the emirship was this very strong attack on Jonathan that $20 billion or $10 billion missing for NNPC coffer. Then coordinator of the economy said nothing like that. So this has been NNPC that has been managed with less than required transparency. When I was chairman of NRC in the electricity sector, I remember one event in Villa where I argued against the then Minister of Petroleum that, look, NEC will not accept to pass on what we call pass-through cost of gas if we don't see the process for its costing. So NNPC has never been a paragon of accountability. It's corruption, it's process that is not clear and transparent. And again, if you look at the PIA advertises clear that this NNPC is now a private company, as the PIA says. And so people subscribe, but it's not quoted on the stock exchange. Government, on paper, claims it's a private company, but on reality, it's not. Look at the OVL transaction. I mean, the round tripping, more like, it sounds like a round tripping stuff if it's currency. X buys Y, Z buys Y, Z buys X, Y comes back and buy. So basically, you bought this person, bought this person. The person who bought was bought by the NNPC. Later, the person who was originally bought now buys the NNPC. So really, it calls for clarity as to process. Now, if they're telling us, first, you've talked about they're now owing. They post a profit, they owe. First, we were told there's no subsidy. Up to today, there's no subsidy. So these debts are there, but you're posting profit. So the question is, what kind of accounting procedure? Again, let's not forget that some subjects of NNPC, some people have alleged that shareholders, there are people who are being paid dividends, as from the profit of some of the major NNPC, platform companies, not the federal government, and billions are being paid as dividend for companies to persons who are undercover. I mean, they might be registered in some document, but really not visible by a search. You can't say, you don't know, oh, these guys are the shareholders. This has been Nigeria's major revenue yield in terms of forex. It has been a cesspit all along. And the question people ask is, why do presidents find it comfortable to now recently start becoming Minister of Petroleum? And then NNPC, Mela Kelly is there. People are saying, why is it still there? If you look at the composition of the board, the last Buhari had to put Abakari, and put almost like 2-3 staffers of the presidency on that board. So really, if we really want to move away from the past, and that was the idea of the NNPC Limited, a company that's going to compete with other companies, hopefully, for business, and a regulator who will not be some sort of NNPC. I'm not there to defend NNPC. We've not seen that the corporate governance, the governance system that warranted the passage of
where are the corrupt agencies here? They can't see what is happening.
And that's a big point. You see,
the eagle eyes again cannot see. Suddenly they've gone.
The eagle eye is slanted to look at the micro,
Okay.
small boys.
Just look at the Yahoo boys.
They're not looking at the big, because
no, they don't look at
many
all.
big corruption stories have broken out
Yeah.
since then. Nobody has been on them.
Let's look at NNPC's decision now after $25 billion in turnaround maintenance of its refineries. It's now putting up, to fan out two of the refineries, the one in Kaduna and the petrochemical refinery in Warri. Don't forget that Port Harcourt,
I'm supposed to have.
is 1st of September. They said nothing will stop it, in August. This is 1st of
It
September.
was supposed to be actually December last year.
Oh, yeah,
They keep moving.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure
Tablet.
Shunaya was his name. He's going to make a statement on that very soon.
We watch, yeah.
It's just statements.
And now they want to.
Now they want to fan out the refineries to
management
private
consultant.
hands.
Now look at this on paper. That many people say, "Oh, that's nice." Instead of divesting, there has been this debate. NNPC staffers don't want NNPC to be privatized. There's an ideological and personal issue. And the ideological issue is, well, we think, why should the state sell its assets? Often, we've seen that privatization has, in many cases, distributed wealth from the many to few people. So some oligarchs gather together and buy those assets, and as a strip. And at the end of the day, dynamic efficiency is not, neither allocative or dynamic efficiency. So it doesn't work. The system, so people have that, ideological resistance. But again, the other issue that the guys in NNPC also, rent seeking and corruption, they wouldn't like privatization. So if you have it in government hand, whether it's turnaround maintenance, whether it's corporate contract management, they have opportunity to put in budget year in, year out for those companies. So the big decision at an Atiku group feel that, look, you should privatize, okay? Other people say, no, you shouldn't privatize. And the idea here is that it talks about government failure. A state that's like Nigeria, that's full of corruption, that hasn't got clarity with institution, will find it difficult to manage public enterprises. Public enterprises are not bad in themselves.
But that's what we've seen over the years. They've spent $28 billion.
So this will continue.
Look, the issue, they want to sell. So why, or they want to just fan out, lease it out. Is it not better for the country?
NNPC staff and management continuously fight against it, because once you take, it's control. Nobody's thinking about the economy. Nobody's thinking about the nation. It's about control. We don't want to lose control. The private business guys are thinking about buying assets. But the question then is, if you don't have the discipline like Nigeria, you don't want to have that discipline of corporate governance, of prudent public administration, then you probably should privatize, because it's double whammy. You spend money to retrieve capacity. It's wasted, it's stolen, it's misappropriated. We had, like Atiku argued his press release today, we had the Canadians, Manitoba, who came to do transmission network in Nigeria when I was NEC chairman. They were never given support, they failed, and our government takes it back. So the question is, if you're going to farm it out as management contract, procedure first, process of bidding, clarity as to what is the terms, what are the terms of this management contract. And I give it to this management contract to persons who have demonstrated competence in managing similar entities. So you have two problems of, should we privatize or concession or give a management contract? Two, how do we select the managers? And what terms do we put in it to ensure that they manage it profitably, and for public interest we have enough.
But you have the
fuel
BP there. Why are you asking this question?
It's BPE.
BP is there.
But the question is, in the past, the history is that BPE has done those that didn't work. So people are saying, we don't want this process because it didn't work. But the bigger economic issue of independence, a country cannot privatize everything.
How can Nigeria continue, to be bled by the NNPC, having spent $25 billion between 2013 and 2023, and in the same vein has spent $10 billion on petroleum subsidy in the year 2022?
And the answer is, if you get a government that is not corrupt itself, in intention, in an action, they clean up this place, privatize, level up with the people, open the books, get the facts out. And then, for example, Nigerians can actually can even agree to pay more for petrol. If, you see, the public trust is missing. So this is a place that you want to sell. You sell to yourself. You want to do management contract. You give it to people who can turn it around for purpose of personal gain. Look at the transaction, the corrupt transaction that we have been seeing in this sector for long. So my point is that there's no easy way to heaven here. It has to do with the character of Nigerians don't appreciate why we should have honest people in government. You see, government is designed, essentially, it's laborious and can actually be corrupt by itself, by default. You need people in government who continuously work against that self-fulfilling prophecy of corrupt public sector. So what we are suffering in this country is that you can't deal with NNPC if you are a government or a system that is corrupt, because the NNPC is a mainstay of this corrupt structure. NNPC underwrites financially the Nigerian corrupt state. And therefore, year in, year out, we're going to see that we're going to have recycling of this corruption. So next year, you hear that the management contract failed and the guys pull out, and then they go back to Nigerian hands.
Like the 1.5 billion spent on Port Harcourt refinery that's supposed to was technically completed since December.
Then August, Dana. So I think that what the stress is now is a conversation. Can we have a process of following through at least one particular policy direction? If we're going to privatize and liberalize this sector, let's pursue that with clarity, with vigor. If we're going to run a state enterprise, Petrobras of Brazil or other state-owned entities, the question then is, are we prepared to run it with the best corporate governance and open book, so that we see through? Look at the National Assembly that's supposed to have oversight. They have committees downstream.
What do they oversight?
They don't. It's actually their job to carry out
budgets that they go about to the companies, to the organizations and collect money from them.
So, Chris,
is that the oversight?
Chris, governance is structural. If you are a legislator, cannot oversight, and you are the public sector cannot, the Accountant General's office cannot. The native is there. Look at the horizontal, vertical institutions of accountability. If they can't, then there's no hope. Basically, see, we talk about this NNPC, there's no magic about it. If a government is focused on corruption, and NNPC is this conduit, NNPC finances election, NNPC is the underwriter of state fraud, there's no incentive to call the Gordian knot. There's no incentive to severe NNPC for corruption, because the corruption has real incentive to continue, and the beneficiaries are the miners of the country. So we conduct this argument about corruption in Nigeria as if it's a joke. It's a political economy. It's about power. It's about access to resources. When politicians talk big about winning an election, the underwriter of this are state institutions that are financial, buoyant. NNPC stop on that. Maybe custom comes in. Maybe different other institutions. So we've seen, if you read the history and the political economy of the oil sector, we start from the joint venture proposals. They don't work. If you look at all the instruments, the tools to get value, they are leading with corruption and capture, state capture, conflict of interest. And so this is magnified in NNPC. So many people understand how this place works, but nobody the MD of NNPC, the managing director of NNPC, the group managing director now, may not be able to say, you know what? There's several secrets they keep. Transactions, I give example that shares are being paid to persons who are not known as owners. So surprisingly, it's a Nigerian entity, but you see some of the subsidiaries may actually be owned by entities, individuals that are not federal government or state government. So this is really a serious case. And so what we say, like, if you're going to get a management contract, can you please turn it over to BPP? And then don't give waiver. If you look at the BPE guidelines, too much waiver for NNPC and such other revenue generators. You allow them to go through the process. The NNPC can award maybe trillion, billions without recourse to FEC. The president can approve. Those waivers.
The president is the minister of petroleum.
The law says he can approve it. Those waivers.
Who is FEC?
Those waivers. There should be no waiver for those who should go through strict tendering process. Strict. But they will say strategic national interest, emergency procurement. Those are processes for gaming the system. And once you tolerate it, then every process will give the same result. You privatize, you contract management, it ends up inefficiency, corruption, state capture.
Thanks so very much, Dr. Sam Amadi, a RISE analyst, for coming to look at the cover, not the book, the financial cover of the NNPC and its move to fan out Warri Refinery and Kaduna, while Port Harcourt remains comatose after more than 1.5 billion.
It will come on stream September.
Or in September. Okay.
Let's hope so.